So many times when people think about referral programs, they think, oh, well, this is something that the marketing team does, or hey, this is something that the growth team does. But to be honest, a referral program is something that product managers should consider as part of their product management toolkit. The reason is because every product has to achieve some business objective, right? You have to be able to change some business critical metric. It needs to ladder up into revenue or profitability or user growth or something. At the end of the day, it's not just features for feature's sake. And so the value of a referral program is that they help with multiple kinds of business critical metrics. For example, they help to increase brand name and awareness, which then grows top of line traffic to your product and increases the chances that someone will convert. It's a really great new source of customer acquisition. It lets you get new users onto your user base. And you can also retain your current customers better because now they're incentivized to advocate for your product to other people. And by doing so, they themselves buy into the value of your product. They become more committed to use your product over the longer run because they've already recommended it to someone else, right? Why would they not use your product if it's something that they highly recommend? And so referral programs are really valuable in terms of driving user acquisition, conversion, retention. And as product managers, these are metrics that we care about. Of course, depending on the kind of product that you own, you may not own these metrics. But if you do happen to own these metrics, then you really should consider how might a referral program fit into my particular problem area, my particular metrics that I want to grow. And so again, referral programs are typically thought of as, this belongs in the realm of marketing. This belongs in the realm of branding. This belongs in the realm of sales or with growth. But honestly, it really belongs more in the realm of product management because a referral program has to be thoughtfully designed. So that's not just kind of tacked on to your product offering. It's actually kind of a core part of the product experience as users are moving through the product. And so that's why I want to take this deep dive for us to better understand how can we actually maximize the impact of the referral programs and the features that we build to help those programs thrive and flourish. So something that I want to bring to your attention is that for referrals, there are actually 3 different sides of the value proposition that you need to take care of. Many times, product managers will have a pretty good sense of 1 or 2 of the 3, but critically, you need to actually satisfy all 3 sides to actually have a compelling referrals program. And so what I want to do is I want to actually elucidate what are these 3 different sides and how can we make sure that we build compelling value propositions to account for each of these 3 sides. And so part 1 is the inviter, the person who's actually bringing people into your product. We need to make sure that we are solving their pains. We need to make sure that we're giving them more value than the cost of inviting someone on. Then the second part is the recipient, the person who's actually receiving the invite to use your product, to register for an account. We also need to think about why should they use your product? Kind of what is the value that they're going to get out of it? And then the third part is the product itself. We are the facilitators of this referral, and so we need to make sure that's worth our time. We need to make sure that the benefits outweigh the costs when we're pulling together these referral programs and their associated features. And so by missing any of these 3 sides, the referral features and really the referral program overall is not going to really resonate. And so as an example, lots of products actually have this, share this app with friends sort of link or sort of call to action that they can use so that way a user can share it with friends. But the problem is that when this person invites their friends, well, they don't get anything out of it, right? Kind of what's the point of inviting this? Because I'm putting my own reputation on the line, as we're going to see in a sec. What if my friends don't like this app? One of the things that you might remember from the early days is, back when there was Facebook gaming, right? There was Zynga, Farmville, all these things. Basically, you could send requests to friends to, hey, come onto this gaming product. And that way, I can tell people that I'm playing this game. And one of the things that people really found is that hey, this is actually very spammy. I don't really want to be playing this game. I want to mute these notifications. And so now people are a lot more wary when they're trying to bring people onto a product. They want to make sure that it's actually going to benefit their friend before sending out kind of a blank invite. So you need to make sure that the inviter feels like they're getting something out of it when they are sending the invite. On the flip side, for the recipient, if you're not giving them something too, why should they use your product? There are so many different products out there. And so when products don't have kind of the right sets of incentives for all the different parties involved in terms of driving a referral programs tend to flop. because there's just not enough value for people to engage, whether it's sending the invite or accepting the invite. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to dive deeper into each of these three sides to talk about ways in which we can increase the benefits and decrease the costs to them. Because again, a value proposition is some bundle of benefits and some bundle of costs together. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the return on investment, which is the benefits divided by the costs, is worth it for each of the parties involved so that they actually leverage this referral program. So the first thing that I want to dive into is the inviter value proposition. I think many times people don't realize that sending out an invite is not something that is cost-free. Of course, it doesn't cost the inviter anything to send it in terms of money, right? They're not paying to send an invite. It's not like they're sending a postcard or a letter. It's not like they're paying for postage, but they are putting their social reputation on the line. Whenever someone is advocating for a product and telling friends, hey, you should use this, they're putting up their own social image, their own identity at risk. If it's a product that other people think is, wow, this is very unpolished, or wow, this doesn't really provide a lot of value, they're going to lose trust in the inviter across a variety of different social arenas, whether that is for work or for friends or family. They'll start to give a lot less credence to the inviter. And so there are a lot of knock-on social impacts when we don't consider that, hey, this person's putting their reputation on the line. We better make sure that it's worth it. And so from that perspective, keep in mind that when you ask someone to invite others to use your product, it's not a free ask that you're making, right? You're thinking, oh, well, it's just going to cost them a little bit of time. We can minimize the friction. It's not the friction of the user experience that matters. Rather, it's all of the offline aspects outside your product that we need to keep in mind of how is this person going to be perceived in front of all of the people who received an invite? Are they going to get a boost in their social image? Or are they going to see a loss in social image? We want to make sure that we are improving their image every time they're making a referral, so that way they are incentivized to continue to invite others onto our product. And so ways in which we can increase the benefit to the inviter. One is we want to make sure that paradoxically, we're providing value to the recipient, right? So whenever we can say, hey, by bringing on a friend, you're going to be able to give them, $50 in credits, or you're going to be able to give them, a 30% off coupon. That actually makes the inviter feel a lot better because now they no longer feel like, oh, well, I'm spamming them, right? Now they feel, oh, well, I'm doing a favor for my friend. And so when you do that, when you make sure that you account for giving value to the recipient, that makes the inviter feel good. So we really want to make sure that we are giving something of worth to both the inviter and the recipient, so that way the inviter's social image looks good. Another thing I want to make sure that we do is that the product should have a really easy onboarding experience. And yes, of course, anytime we're bringing on new users, of course we should have nice onboarding features. But the thing that we want to keep in mind from the inviter's perspective to build that empathy for inviters is we don't want the inviter to have to be on the hook to teach people how to use the product, right? Whether you are running something in e-commerce, whether you're running something in fintech, what you don't want to do is you don't want the inviter to say, oh, well, now I have to take time out of my day to teach people how to use this product that I recommended, right? Because that's not a good use of their time. And so we need to consider how long is it going to take for these new recipients to actually get onto the product? Are they going to have to bug the inviter about, hey, can you teach me how to use this thing? So we really want to make sure that in terms of increasing the social capital of the inviter, that we provide benefits to the recipients so that way they feel good about making the ask. And we're also not taking time out of their day, right? We want to make sure that the invite is clear and that the onboarding process is easy so that the inviter doesn't have to teach everyone that they refer the product to. Then in terms of decreasing the cost incurred when it comes to sending out this invite, something that we want to do is we want to provide a default invite message. What do I mean by that? Well, if you are sending out an invite for someone to go use your product, and you're doing that through email or through text, sometimes it can be pretty hard to figure out what should I put into the body of this email, right? It can feel incredibly difficult to come up with compelling copy, to have something that you feel confident about sending to your friends. Whereas if we can, within our product, provide a default invite message for the inviter, that eliminates a lot of the costs in terms of taking the time and effort to craft an invite that makes sense. But on the flip side, we can't just have a default invite message and then just leave it as is, because a lot of times inviters will say, ugh, I'm not really a fan of that messaging. I want to personalize it a little bit for my friend Bob or for my friend Alice, right? We want to make sure that we are positioning this product in a good enough light, not just because I want the recipient to use it, but because I, as the inviter, I want to look good. I want to be able to customize that message. And so we need to make sure that not only are we providing default invite messages, but we should also let the inviter customize that invite message so that that way it suits their tone, it suits their brand a little bit more. And the last thing that can be really helpful is we can signal to the inviter that, hey, there are lots of other folks who have successfully invited other people onto the product. And what that does is it creates social proof. It reduces the perceived risk for the inviter of, oh my gosh, what if I'm the first person who's ever doing this? What if I do this and then people say, oh my gosh, you're being spammy, or oh my gosh, I don't find this valuable, and why would you bother me with it, right? If you can signal to the inviter, well, there have been 10,432 people who have also successfully invited their friends onto the product, they're going to say, yeah, seems like a legitimate product, seems like something that I can, very fully back, and then that way they can actually go ahead and invite people. Of course, don't go making up facts that don't exist. If you don't yet have kind of those metrics of successful invites, don't put that into your product. But kind of as you build up this flywheel of getting people to invite recipients onto your product through this referral program, you can start surfacing these stats so that way users know, oh, it's actually very low risk and very high reward for both me and the recipient for me to actually go and refer this product to them. So social proof is something that's also really, really helpful. So this is how we can improve the inviter value proposition. And for more seasoned product managers, many times they get the inviter value proposition right. But what can happen a lot is that the recipient value proposition goes entirely unaddressed. And so let's take some time to talk about how we can make it more valuable for the recipient to receive this referral invite.